Visión comunal, en contacto con las comunidades.
Venezuela in the news. News from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Headlines.
Supreme Court of Justice decided that the referendum must be requested in every state of the country. Opposition announced that it will not accept the decisions of the Supreme Court of Justice. Government increased the production and reduced 83% the imports of meat. The Supreme Court of Justice ruled that the signatures needed to request the recall referendum will be counted by region. The decision forces the opposition to comply with the goal of collecting 20% of the permanent electoral registry in each region of the country. If the goal is not reached in one of the states, the possibility of the recall referendum will be automatically aborted. From October 26 to 28, there will be a process to collect the signatures required in accordance with the Venezuelan legal framework. The Supreme Court of Justice stated that this process does not represent in any way a consultation or a referendum or a plebiscite. The National Electoral Council between the 28th and 29th of November will release the official results after counting and verifying each signature. The Democratic Unity Opposition Party Coalition, MUD, said yesterday that it will not comply with any ruling from the Supreme Court of Justice after this institution decided that the counting of the manifestations will have to be held regionally. The spokesman of the MUD, Jesus Torrealba, stated that they will not obey the ruling of the Electoral Chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice. Torrealba explained that the counting must be held nationally and not by region. The law on the referendum was approved in 2007 for all the political factors of the country, from the government and from the opposition. Several of the main political operators of the opposition also condemned the ruling, which forces them to meet 20% of the electoral registry in the 23 states of the country and the district capital. Vice President of Venezuela, Aristóbulo Istúriz, denounced yesterday that the national parliament intends to block the functioning of the country as it disregarded the other four powers of the state. Istúriz indicated that in Venezuela there isn't a confrontation of powers, but a power fighting against the rest of the powers. The vice president said that the parliament does not care about the country's progress, and for this reason it initiated an open confrontation with the other powers of the state. The Supreme Court of Justice declared the National Assembly in contempt for not complying with a ruling that called to not swear in as deputies 3 citizens who are being investigated of electoral crimes. The Supreme Court of Justice assumed the powers of the parliament to prevent the country from declining.
Venezuela in the news.
The Venezuelan government announced the decrease of imports of cattle in more than 80%. The Ministry of Agriculture and Lands issued a report that confirmed the increase in more than 11% of the national production in the meat sector, which reduced the dependence of imports to supply the local market. The report concluded that most of the meat consumed in the country is from national production. The Ministry of Agriculture, Production and Lands, Wilmar Castro Soteldo, stated that the amount of 938,082 animals was reached to cover the internal demand. Rector of the University of Health Sciences Hugo Chavez, Carlos Alvarado González, informed yesterday that Venezuela will have during the next 6 years 60,000 new integral community doctors. This university, inaugurated in June of this year, is authorized to dictate formation programs in nursing, dental medicine, physiotherapy, and occupational therapy. The authorities will establish, before the year ends, the activation of the postgraduate programs in internal medicine, pediatrics, gynecology, obstetrics, surgery, and traumatology. Currently, the country has 20,000 integral doctors deployed in the communities in the mission Barrio Adentro, a social policy that guarantees free quality medical assistance for the most vulnerable sectors. Barrio Adentro has allowed to save almost 2 million lives since its creation in 2003.
News from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Headlines.
Supreme Court of Justice decided that the referendum must be requested in every state of the country. Opposition announced that it will not accept the decisions of the Supreme Court of Justice. Government increased the production and reduced 83% the imports of meat.
Venezuela in the news. News from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Visión comunal, en contacto con las comunidades.